Hello, students! Today, we're going to do a revision of a very important and, a pretty complex chapter from your Class 10 Civics textbook. We'll be looking at the relationship between caste and politics in India.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with a basic introduction to caste. Then we'll try to understand caste inequalities. From there, we'll see how caste looks in modern India, and then we get to the main part, how caste influences politics, and just as importantly, how politics influences caste. Finally, we'll wrap it all up with a conclusion.
Okay, let's dive right into our first section. We're going to begin by understanding what really makes the caste division so unique. You see, while all societies have some kind of inequality, the caste system is really an extreme form of it, and it has incredibly deep historical roots right here in our country. Now let's move on. We're going to define some crucial terms. Please pay close attention here, because these are very important for your exams.
Okay, so what is the caste system? It's a system where your occupation, your job, was decided by birth. It was hereditary. And this division was often backed by certain rituals. People belonging to one caste group would usually do the same kind of work, and they would also marry within that same group. And this system created what we call a caste hierarchy. Just imagine a ladder. All the different caste groups were placed on this ladder, some at the top and some at the bottom. This created a system of exclusion and discrimination, especially against the groups at the very bottom, who were sometimes called outcast groups. The worst form of this was the inhuman practice of untouchability. This was a terrible system of excluding and discriminating against these outcast groups. Now, social reformers like Jyotirao Phule, Gandhiji, and of course Dr. B.R. Ambedkar worked very hard to end this practice. And today, it is completely prohibited by the Indian Constitution. So the big question is, has the caste system disappeared from modern India? Let's explore the changes that have happened, and also the things that have somehow continued to persist.
So because of things like economic development, more people moving to cities, that's urbanization, and of course education, the old rigid ideas of caste hierarchy are slowly breaking down. But as you can see, it has not completely vanished.
And here is a very clear example of that. Even now, most people in India still marry within their own caste or tribe. This just shows that some of the older aspects of caste have definitely persisted, even in contemporary India.
This table, well, it really shows the link between caste and a person's economic status. The effects of centuries of disadvantage are still felt today. Just look at the data. You can clearly see how the groups at the bottom of the hierarchy have faced much more poverty. Okay, now we come to the absolute core of our chapter, the role of caste in the political arena. This is where it gets very interesting.
Political parties, they often use caste as a tool to get votes, especially during elections. So what do? They might choose candidates based on the caste makeup of an area. They might make specific appeals to caste feelings to get support. And when governments are formed, they often make sure that people from different castes are included.
This cartoon here shows a very common idea, that elections in India are won or lost just on the basis of caste, the idea of a vote bank. But is that really true? Is it that simple?
So the question is, can caste alone decide who wins an election? Well, the answer from your textbook is a very clear no. Let's understand why.
So the point is, while caste is definitely a factor, it is not the only factor that decides elections. You see, no single constituency has a clear majority of one caste. Also, no single party gets all the votes from one community. And very importantly, voters think about other things too, like their economic situation or how the government has been performing. Now, let's look at the other side of this, because this relationship is not just one way. Politics also has a big influence on caste.
This is a very, very important concept. What it means is that politics doesn't just get stuck in old caste divisions. Instead, politics actually brings caste identities out into the open, into the public sphere, and in doing so, it changes them.
So, through politics, the caste identity itself can expand and transform. For instance, different caste groups might try to become bigger by including smaller, similar subcastes, or they might form alliances or coalitions with other castes. And this leads to new political groupings, like the idea of backward and forward caste groups. And finally, let's summarize the impact of caste in politics. As you'll see, it's something of a double-edged sword. It has both positive and negative aspects.
So on the one hand, politics has empowered communities that were historically marginalized. It has given them a voice. But on the other hand, an exclusive focus only on caste can be harmful for democracy.
It can take attention away from big issues like poverty and development, and sometimes it can lead to tensions.
And this right here is the key takeaway. A healthy democracy must, of course, address caste inequalities, but it should not let caste divisions become the only thing that matters in politics.
So, as you prepare for your exams, I want you to think about this question. It really captures the central challenge of Indian democracy. How do we make sure everyone has a voice without making caste the only issue? That brings us to the end of our revision for today.